welcome to the second ever episode of Philosophonics. It is an honor to be here this evening with you all. I see that there is already a lovely chat from Julie. Pleasure having you this evening. We are going to go there. We're going to go there this whole year, talking about all the topics involving music theory and physics and philosophy, and as well as me just playing some songs for you guys. So it is a pleasure once again, like I said, to be here with you all. I hope this brings some benefit to your life in some way. I hope everybody's having a beautiful, beautiful 2024 thus far. And I'm just going to get started with 3 originals. Then we'll go into the chat slash educational portion of Philosophonics. And then I will play some covers attached to the things that we talk about. And then finally, we'll end it out tonight with a meditation that will bring you some peace for your Thursday evening. So the 3 songs I'm going to play, originals tonight. The first one's called Detuning. The second one's called Amen. And the third one will be Arc. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Welcome. Be my solitude, be my grace, be the reason I stay in this place. And when rain clouds cover your head, I will hold your spirit in the palm of my hand. Tell your mother I'll treat you just fine. Tell your mother I'll treat you just fine. Tell your mother I'll treat you just fine. I will make your dinner, put your clothes out on the line. I will make your dinner, put your clothes out on the line. I know stay in this place. And when rain clouds cover your head, I will hold you, spirit, in the palm of my hand. I will hold you, spirit, in the palm of my hand. So what about the man with a satisfied mind? The people moved past him, they didn't have time. The worms inside my body soon after I'm dead make a better earth, make the soil rich instead. Must be light somewhere. Not even darkness can hide the fire that's in our hearts. And it's a light we share. It's in the hands of a child, in the face of who we are. All matter is energy condensed into slow waves, and we are all one consciousness, as Bill has been known to say. You see, we're experiencing ourselves subjectively each day. These are not my words, but they'll help you find a way. Oh, in death there's but a dream, and consciousness won't end. We're the sole image of ourselves, my friends. There must be light somewhere. Not even darkness can hide the fire that's in our hearts. And it's a light we share. It's in the hands of a child, in the face of who we are. Now I have prayed to Buddha and I have prayed to God. All of them answered, so I just moved on. Tell me that it matters which way we break our bread, 'cause we are all God's children, alive or dead. Oh, and you may have your golden book and you may have your creed, but my God doesn't care which book you read. 'Cause there must be light somewhere. Not And for the craziest original tonight, Arc. Hey, Allie, what's up? Thanks for the shout out. You're the best. Honored to have all of you guys here. Journey is long in this wide world, but I know that it will be alright. And though the road is long and you're sometimes tired, it's always worth the fight. Don't be afraid of things that are new. Don't be afraid to say I love you. If eyes are the windows to the soul, rockabye, baby, let it go. Let it go. It's a feeling inside you. Feel it when nobody's looking. Spirits will guide you. Only must trust what you're feeling. Don't you listen to them saying we won't make it. Things are as they must be. The world is constantly changing. Don't let the fear ever really sink in. Don't let the walls start caving us in. If thoughts are the pathways to the goal, rockabye, baby, you must grow. You must grow. Life gives you problems, their red tape gives no real solutions. Puzzles of people providing their own persecution. Don't you listen to them saying we won't make it. Things are as they must be. The world is constantly changing. Oh, 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 oh. All right, you guys. That concludes the original music portion of this episode of Philosophonics. And like I was saying mid-song, hello, Allie. It's a pleasure to have you. Allie, meet Julie. Julie, meet Allie. Good human beings all around. And thanks to everyone else watching. I really appreciate you guys. So buckle up, my friends, because this one is going to be jam-packed with all kinds of fun stuff. I have been working all week making sure that I have crossed most of my T's and dotted most of my I's as best as I could with this material that we are going to cover tonight. Woo! And then I will be doing a little bit of a demonstration. We'll see how that goes, involving some pretty crazy images with sound. So yeah, get ready because I am coming at you. So one thing I do want to mention real quick is that a lot of what I am teaching you can be condensedly found, if that's a word, into a book that is called The Quadrivium, Arithmetic, Geometry, Music, and Cosmology. Actually, it says the four classical liberal arts of those things. And so I have referenced that already a lot, and you can buy a used copy most places on the web that sell books. So that is a really great resource that covers a lot of what we are going to be talking about in the upcoming weeks, and to give you just some deeper background. So I think you can find it probably for around 15 bucks. And there are some places online that I've seen a lot of people posting quite a bit of the content. So yeah, sorry for that, authors and publishers, but there is quite a bit available just online for those rebels that don't want to spend money. And I just want to give some credit to the people that I list as being a part of a lot of this content. So just giving a brief shout out to Miranda Lundy, Dowd Sutton, and John Martineau for the things that you have put into this book. It looks like you guys have been at it for a while, so thank you so much. So a brief shout out for that. And we are going to be covering kind of predominantly something that eventually was called cymatics, okay? Cymatics, cymatics. And technically, the definition of that is, I looked it up, the study of wave phenomena, especially sound, and their visual representations, okay? So that word itself was coined by a Swiss dude, Hans Jenny, and I think this is his birth and death dates that I wrote down from 1904 to 1972. So pretty recently, we've come up with the term cymatics. But before then, I don't know if it had an official name, but I just call the overall thing how sound looks. So in layman's terms, we are going to talk a lot tonight about how sound looks. And then we will get to some proper cymatics, if you will, here in a little bit. So I want to start with some history, like I did last week, because how sound looks was kind of discovered by many people. But one of the earliest steps in that progression was a little guy I like to call Galileo. You may have heard of him. He's a pretty big deal. But he was messing around with a pendulum. Most of you all are probably familiar with what a pendulum is. It's basically a thing, like a string or something with something else on it that goes back and forth like this. So what's interesting about the pendulum is that it corresponds to frequency because it has a period, right? You let go of it and it comes back, and it does that same thing back and forth, which sound waves are also doing that. They are going back and forth at a certain period of time. So if you want a little bit more information about some of the frequency and stuff, I covered that in the first episode. And you guys feel free to ask questions in the chat. I have not figured out how to grow another arm to really be able to type back yet. Working on it. But I do see your questions. So if you have a question along the way, feel free to ask them. So Galileo, messing with the pendulum in the 16th, early 17th century. And he discovered that the ratios of the harmonic overtones were also in alignment with the distance that he put the pendulum, right? So how quickly it was going back and forth. There was a correspondence between these two things. So he was able to test out the harmonic overtone series, which we discussed last week, through using the pendulum, and kind of messed with the ratios, right? The 2 to 1, the 4 to 3, perfect fourth, perfect fifth. You guys are pretty schooled on that now. If not, Google it while we're talking. It's pretty cool. So anyways, Galileo messing with those pendulums. And he discovered, oh my gosh, if I'm using those same ratios some patterns come up, which is crazy. So flash forward, because that knowledge kind of simmered, right? It simmered in the minds of scientists and mathematicians. Cool, they were finding these patterns. And then something called the harmonograph eventually became developed in the mid 18th century. So let me show you a picture of it. Lots of pictures tonight. They're going to predominantly cover my face. I'm fine with it. All right. So behold our harmonograph. And this is gosh. All right. So there was a couple people also that I need to talk about for a second, because some of the patterns that were discovered, which we'll see in a minute, became known as Lissajous curves. And who kind of stumbled on some of this was a guy named Nathaniel Bowditch in 1815, which this guy is super cool. He actually like studied the stars and navigation, and a copy of his book is evidently still on all naval vessels. So that guy's cool. And then the Lissajous curves are actually named after Jules Antoine Lissajous in 1857, who took some of this pendulum work on steroids and discovered these certain type of patterns, right? So there is the harmonograph. How does it work, you ask me? Well, there are two different kinds of harmonograph. There can be what's called a lateral, and these are just words, so don't think too much about them, because it's just words for stuff, right? So there is a lateral and a rotary. A lateral one is going to only have the this leg, the one that's closest to me, and then the one that's furthest from me over here. Boom. Okay? And it is going to swing at perpendicular motion to each other. And what you can do is then adjust the ratio between those two pendulums, right? So you can do the length of 2 to 1 for the octave, or 4 to 3, or whatever you want to do. And you will have a pin attached at the top. So what you're seeing at this top part here is a pin and a little plate of paper, right? Obviously, this is a modern design of it, but they would have done something with old wood, old time wood, or something of the like. It probably wouldn't look this clean and modern and cool. But what happens is the legs that the two legs are in 90-degree angle to each other. And then your third one, this is a rotary one because it has 3, right? So the third one is your rotary pendulum, the one that's closest to the front, and that can be turned clockwise or counterclockwise. So then you got the 2 at the 90 with each other, and the clockwise and counterclockwise. It sounds kind of crazy. And let me just tell you, all this was a little bit cerebral for me this week. So it's moving in certain directions. That's all you really need to know about it, okay? And those directions can be one or the other. And we can also put the different ratios that we learned of the harmonic overtone series within the lengths of those pendulums. And then we start to get cool patterns. This is where it gets fun. Yeah, so I talked about all the history I wanted to talk about for the moment. So that's kind of a basic Galileo. Then later on, some dudes really got heavy into it, is the bottom line. Oh, Lordy, look how freaking cool this is. So these are some of the patterns that are produced by the harmonograph. And I don't know about you, but they are freaking beautiful to me. So as you can see, it is illustrating on the first column what happens if you are using, I believe, a lateral. Yep. So the left side, the left two images are what happens when you do the different overtone ratios using a lateral, which is just the two pendulums harmonograph, okay? And you can do different phases. So let's sidetrack for a minute. What are phases, you say? All right, the most simple sound wave is a sine wave, which you've probably seen and are familiar with the term. So it goes like this, up and down and up and down, right? Great. Well, you could have a sine wave instead of starting up, start down and up and down and up, right? And it's actually fascinating because if you play two of the same pitches, the same frequencies, one of them is in this phase where it goes up first, and the other is in the phase where it goes down first, you will hear silence. They cancel each other out. It's amazing. Okay, now if you were to put two of the same frequencies of sine waves together, both of them starting up first, then it gets twice as loud. Got it? Okay, awesome. So that is the concept of phase, which is, does it start on the up or down? Or obviously it can start in any variety along that phase. So with the harmonograph, what they're showing us on the first column is open phase, and the second is closed. So that is the difference between your two pendulums either both being up and releasing at the same time, or having one of them release at the midway point of the swing of the other one. That is why you get two different images for each of those ratios. Oh my gosh, it's fascinating and so, so beautiful. Okay, then the right side columns are with a rotary, which has three pendulums, the harmonograph. And same thing, open. Oh, actually, excuse me, not the same thing. Those are if it is the wheel of the third pendulum is rotating clockwise or counterclockwise. Okay. And what is really, really cool about these patterns is math moment. If they are going what we call the concurrent, which is the first column, like on the right side. So it would be the third group of images going down. Then you will have B minus A loops, right? So what does that mean? You count the loops on the furthest right column. So let's just look at like the 2 to 1 interval, right? Furthest right column, how many loops? 3. Boom, that's our B, okay? A, how many loops in that? 1. It's so amazing. Okay, so that is going to be your ratio. 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 to 1. And let's see, you can count the loops and each of them divide. There's like other math, but it always has a math to it, is my point. I try not to get too on a tangent about that, okay? I will try and update that math in the description after this stream. So, boom, we got the harmonograph and we have all these patterns that have been discovered. This is just a very, very small sample of what you can see from combining two different frequencies or even just one. But these patterns are consistent. If you've got the ratio, you're going to get these patterns. And these patterns are happening what? With matter all around you while they're being played. So even though we can't see it, these beautiful, beautiful patterns are being produced everywhere. Some not so straightforward, which we'll get to. How you guys doing? Hanging in there? Hanging in there? Great. I'm so proud of you because this is really cool stuff. All right, so we've talked about the harmonograph, super cool. They figured out these patterns, also super cool. There's math involved in the patterns that's consistent every single time. Oh my gosh, so amazing, right? Wow. All right, so with the concept of these patterns, Now we're going to talk about something that you've probably heard since elementary school, the electromagnetic spectrum. It's such a fun word to say, electromagnetic. All right, so like I said, you probably learned that in elementary school, middle school, somewhere along the line, that everything is all part of this one big spectrum, just different higher up or lower down in frequencies. So typically what you see when you talk about the electromagnetic spectrum is something like this image. Okay, perfect. So this is actually from NASA because that's how smart we are all on this stream is because we're looking at images from NASA. But as you can see, there is a spot for frequency. They're about a little bit under midway down. And we see 10 to the fourth power. So those are in hertz. And human hearing is approximately 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. So we start getting into these higher frequencies, much above human hearing. We get into resonant frequencies of objects, human beings, then up to protoplasms, molecules, atoms, atomic, but let's just keep in mind that this is all things, atoms, things like that, vibrating. It's just there's a lot of quantum physics about is it a particle or is it a beam or a string of something. So really, it's all just things vibrating. So the faster we vibrate, we get up to, uh, all the way to the atomic nucleus, super high frequencies, obviously. And then at the top, you can see that there's radio, microwave, infrared, visible, etc. All right. So you probably have seen that before. What you may not have been reminded or taught of. Yeah, I'm just going to let that cover up the other one because here is the rest of the spectrum going down, right? So they only start this infograph with going up in those radio wave frequencies. But if we were to go down, then we start getting into audible sound, right? So it's all. Sorry, it's like a big reveal. Hold on. I'm trying to get the right image up. Boom. It's all a full spectrum, right? Matter, waves, waves in the air, Wi Fi, the earth. It's all on this one spectrum made up of frequencies. Boom. Amazing. Okay, so this image, I'm just going to let you guys look at it for just a second, is showing all the way from 1 hertz, which is infrasonic. Then it shows audible sound, ultrasonic, hypersonic, heat, etc. Right? Included in the electromagnetic spectrum is light, visible light, Roy G. Biv. All right, so I wanted to take a little sidetrack to remind you all that sound, light, and matter are all essentially the same thing. Okay, they're made up of the same sauce. They can all be put on a one image to show that all. All right, so that is what you needed to know for us to go further, right? So now we're going to talk about sound because we already saw how slowed down to slower frequencies on the harmonograph, those patterns exist, right? Well, if those patterns exist on this level with the frequencies of that, of the pin and of the pendulum, and the ratios exist there, then we can only assume that by using what we learned last week, the most important, not most important, but most common ratio of 2 to 1, we can continue multiplying those patterns up through all of existence, right? We can multiply up until the visible light spectrum times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, etc., until we get anywhere uh, in this spectrum, which is amazing. So moving on to those patterns and sound. This is a tool that we use to see those patterns in sound, sometimes for electricity as well. And it's called an oscilloscope or oscillator. I'm pretty sure it's more appropriate to call it an oscilloscope. But what you're seeing here is the patterns of that happening with sound. And basically, there's usually two inputs for different frequencies on the device, and you can adjust those frequencies, adjust the different types of waves in order to be able to see these stunning patterns. And for those that want to go down the rabbit hole with this one, I discovered this week that there is a whole genre of music called oscillator music. And it is extremely smart math people that have made music that coincides with patterns on oscillators, and it sounds like some really dope EDM. So if you're interested in that kind of nerdy thing, go for it. Okay, so harmonograph with the pendulum, oscilloscope, modern day, seeing all kinds of stuff. Boom. And there's even virtual oscilloscopes that you can play with online, etc., etc. All right, so back to these patterns and back to I told you guys we were going to come around to cymatics. All right, so cymatics really didn't come about until the 1900s and later. And then, of course, it keeps getting more and more detailed and precise and cool with the things that they've come up with to see these different types of things. But Ernst Chladni is probably one of the most associated people with cymatics. He was a German musician and physicist, and he basically had a plate, and he put some, let's just call it dirt or sand on this plate, and he had a violin bow, and he started noticing that at different frequencies he was seeing different patterns. So I have a little, let's see, I got some things to show you for that. So I have a little video that we're going to watch together for a video moment to just see kind of how that looks.
Chladni discovered that when he spread sand on metal plates and then vibrated the plates with a violin bow, the sand arranged itself into patterns. Different geometrical forms appeared depending on the vibration produced.
What? All right, so that was the only basically public domain-ish. It's actually a Creative Commons video that I could find to use here, but there are so many cool videos of cymatics on YouTube all around the web that you should totally check out because it's amazing, and we are just doing the tip of the iceberg here. So anyways, those patterns kind of became known as Chladni, I think is how you say it. Okay, I am not, full science person, musician, learning science here. But he kind of discovered that there's different modes of vibration. So they would kind of like bubble up and then boom, they hit pattern one as he was raising the frequency, and then boom, hit another pattern. And I always called this before this week when I learned that there was proper terms for it, called a tonoscope. I called it the rice mandala because as I was growing up, my friend would be like, check out this video on YouTube, type in rice mandala sound or something like that. And it was this exact thing. So nowadays, obviously, they're not using lots of violin bows for this. They actually have speakers underneath it and very well thought out plates that will show you those patterns of natural resonance of objects. All right. So this is the part where things are going to get crazy this week, because I'm going to end up this chat. Well, we have a couple more things to talk about after this, but I'm going to do a demonstration. And you can make this at home. I saw this idea, I believe it was originally thought about by Brian McInwells, and then Steve Mold on YouTube did this setup. So me being from West Texas and not being bougie, I loved this idea. All right, so you will need the following things. It's like our Bill Nye moment. You will need a Bluetooth speaker. You will need a cup or a bowl. Now, technically, I should really be using a bowl with a Bluetooth speaker and a larger balloon, which you will also need. But last night, this is what worked. So I will be using a cup with a Bluetooth speaker that fits in it. Here's the other things you need. You need a balloon. If you're going to use a bowl, get a much larger balloon than you can find at Walmart, because all I could find at Walmart was a 12-inch balloon, which is why I'm using the cup and not a bowl. So just, note that. Then you will need a very small piece of a mirror. Okay, so I broke an eyeshadow mirror. Boom, here we are. Small piece of a mirror. And lastly, you will need a laser pointer, which just trust that I have a laser pointer pin here. Yeah. Okay, so laser pointer, piece of mirror, balloon, something to put it in, and a Bluetooth speaker. All right, so then what you're going to do, let me turn my Bluetooth on, because you want to do that and you want to connect whatever you're connecting to it before you do what I'm going to do with the balloon. Trust me. It's on. It should be connected. Let me just do a double check, because it is going to get awesome up in here. So what I'm going to do is basically I'm making a homemade device to show the pattern of sound, and I will be projecting it onto the wall. And this is not fancy by any means, so hopefully we make it through out to the other side. Great. Okay, so I'm connected to my Bluetooth, and I am gonna need to just be playing something, honestly, so that it does not die. So I have gone to an online tone generator, and I will be using that to do this stuff. All right, I'm just gonna turn it down for now. Cool. So that I don't lose connection with my Bluetooth. All right, so connect to your Bluetooth speaker. Boom. Insert speaker into thingy. Boom. All right, this is the hard part. You take the balloon and you're going to put it on top, wrap it on top of your cup. So say a prayer for me. I'm going to do that real quick. Talk amongst us. I got it. All right. So it's on my cup. Boom. Please, Lord, let it stay. Please let everything stay connected. Then it says to glue a piece of mirror to the top of it. My mirror happened to still have like a glue dot on it, so that worked out well for me. So then carefully put that piece of mirror on your balloon. Boom. Okay, so now you have your little device set up. You can feel super cool about this, because I know me and my husband did last night. All right, so I'm going to put the Be Right Back on for a minute, because what I have to do right now is turn off all the lights in this room, and I am going to move the camera close enough to where you guys can see these sound patterns that we have talked about. So what are we going to be seeing? We're going to be seeing essentially patterns, just like the ones we've seen tonight, of sound moving. So we can't see it normally, but because this beautiful device, we're going to be able to see it. So I managed to get everything back to normal. Hallelujah. It's a miracle. Julie, yes, I'm so glad you thought that was cool because um it's real and it's always there. That's what we were talking about last week, the harmonic overtones. This stuff is not just woo woo. This is literally happening consistently every time music or sound happens, and then we can only assume that throughout all of existence, everything around us. So, this topic is gonna get even heavier. Not heavier as in like more serious, but it goes really far out there to stuff that kind of breaks my brain. And so I thought that this would be a good little dose to give you guys to start off with. So I think we should all be pretty clear at this point already that there are these ratios that are kind of in the divine architecture of the universe. Um, and so, yeah, make your own lookup. I think if you Google laser balloon speaker or something like that on YouTube, you can see a video by Steve Mold of his instructions of how to do that at home. And I would highly recommend it. Julie and Nate, I think you guys would have a blast doing it. It's super cool. And what's really cool is if you just play music, which I'm not going to do due to copyright stuff on YouTube, but uh, man, if you just play your Bluetooth speaker, you'll see all kinds of patterns happening from actual music. So give that a whirl at home, guys. It's probably achievable for less than $5 if you already have a Bluetooth speaker. And you can probably get one at 5 and below if you guys have one of those. Doesn't have to be the highest quality speaker ever. All right, so now we are going to, you made it. You made it through the most dense part of tonight's Philosophonics. Please let me know. Feel free to message me or whatever with any questions you have about that. But we are going to kind of go into the philosophy part of it, which is something that we'll be going much deeper into next week about tuning systems. The reason why I gave you guys the precursor with this stuff going on in actual matter is because it's going to get a little, what do you call it? Like disassociated with matter for a minute. Some of these are very philosophical, theoretical things at the end of the day that we'll be talking about next week. But I wanted you to be familiar with the kind of actual matter science side of things. And so the musical comma, this has been a problem for most of our existence as in the society, in the history that we know today of humans. Now, I don't think we realized it was a problem until a little bit later due to us not using a centralized system of music theory. But it's a problem. So last week I talked about the major scale and how it is comprised. And I told you guys that I wanted to teach you that so that we can then talk about today how it's all kerfuffleness. It's malarkey, right? And what makes it malarkey a little bit with our, not just the scale, but the chromatic scale, which we talked about last week, which is this guy. As you can see my fingers, it's the shortest distance between two notes on what we call fixed instruments, which is instruments that I can't change. I only have this one and this one, right? If it was a violin or something, I could slide between those two, but I only have this button and this button. There's nothing between it, right? So to get this particular chromatic scale and the way that it is tuned on the piano, we will talk about next week fully, but we're going to talk about the problem with developing this chromatic tuning. And you say, Ashleigh, why is there a problem? We know the ratios. We learned the harmonic overtones last week. We can just find all the notes in the harmonic overtones. No problem whatsoever. Let me show you some of the math I did today and my lovely graphic. Oh yeah, we're going to go to covers in a minute, but this is the last little thing I want to talk about because it's the philosophy. This is deep. This is the best way I know how to explain the problem of the musical comma. The comma is a leftover group of frequencies that we cannot account for. The most famous type of comma is called the Pythagorean comma. And there are other names for other musical commas, which are these little bits of frequency that we don't know how to deal with it, which I'll show you the math in a minute. The Pythagorean tuning, what he chooses for each of these notes, frequency-wise, is based off of what we learned last week, which is the ratio of the perfect fifth, right? So I have on you'll see it says note. The first image to your left, I have done the notes of the perfect fifth until we circle back around. So I'll just play them so you can hear it, what I'm talking about. And C is not 200 hertz. I'm just picking that as an arbitrary number for its frequency. So just that it's not actually 200 hertz. Maybe it is. That would be amazing, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Okay, so C. Then up of perfect fifth is the note. And if you don't know your note names, it don't matter. Just know that I'm going up by that perfect fifth ratio with frequency and note name, okay? So I'm going up to G, D, A, E, B, F sharp, C, my phone's on there, G sharp, okay, etc., until by going up fifths, I come back to C. Or do I? Look at the math of this, okay? So using all right, hold up. Oh yeah, sorry. I was like, how did I derive that? All right, so the ratio for the fifth, the 3 to 2, right? I've used to get the frequencies for each of these intervals that I just played, C, G, D, A, right? So if you'll see on that image to the left, it says your frequency, and then it's all going up by that same ratio, et cetera, until we get to the F. So a fifth up from F becomes C again, right? So that's the end of it. That's it. We got all the notes in there, all 12. And those should be the frequencies according to Pythagoras and that harmonic overtone of the fifth, the ratio. We've talked about it so much now. It's old news. All right, what I've done on the to keep an octave area is basically I have divided those frequencies that I put in under the frequency column by 2, right? Because I'm just taking them down an octave to get them in the same octave so that they will all be right here, right? Instead of like this C, this G, blah, 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 blah. Whoa. We're trying to get one tuning system here, right? One full 12 note chromatic scale. So I've just been dividing by 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 until I get stuff that is between the range of 2 to 400, right? Why? Because the 2 to 1, right? So that octave C to C would need to be 200 to what? 400. WTF. Why in my to keep to the octave is it 405 hertz? What the heck? That, my dear friends, is called the problem of the musical comma. Because when we do the math and derive the notes naturally from the natural harmonic overtone, we cannot get back to the octave that we started. It is not a 2 to 1. Something goes awry. Okay, and so on the image to the right, I have actually organized those frequencies that I derived on this one to show you as we go up. And this is not what it would sound like. And we'll get to why in the next show on Thursday when we talk about people trying to fix this and still not being successful all these years. No one's really fixed it. Anyways, you can see that when I try and go from C to C using that math, it should be 400. All the other ratios are kind of whack as well, which is why I just wrote hot mess area, right? As you can see, the F, yikes, should be 4 to 3 ratio. It's not. Okay. There is this leftover bit. And that is the philosophy for tonight, because no one has ever solved this problem. They have tried to in different ways, which that's what we'll talk about next week, is the ways that people have tried. And my question to you is, why does that matter? That is the philosophy of it. We're going to get heavy into it next week. But for now, you know the problem with the musical comma, and you can get all kinds of philosophical with how to solve it this week with yourself or with your friends or your partner. All right. So good job, everyone. You made it through. I hope you learned something that interests you during that part of the show tonight. And yeah, just make your own balloon mirror thing. Here's some covers that I thought were appropriate, and then we will end it out tonight with a meditation for you guys. So Julie said it's happening this weekend. Love it. Send me pics. I want to see your balloon You guys are gonna have so much fun. It's the best. Everybody just party and make your own frequency thing, and you'll amaze all your friends and family. So the first cover I'm gonna play tonight, it actually talks about the fourth and the fifth, and it actually plays the chords in the interval of the fourth to the fifth. And it is probably one of the most covered songs ever, but I love it. Sing along if you know it. And then yeah, we'll do some other crazy stuff. So here is Hallelujah. I'm gonna do Jeff Buckley's version just because the Leonard Cohen has so many verses. Although it is the OG, never forget. I just kept the Stranger Things background because I love it. It's not really from the show, but that's what I call it. Aw, thanks, Sally. Thank you so much for showing it to people. I hope they learn something that benefits their life. That's why I'm doing this, because I just want to share this all. It's so freaking cool to me. Oh yeah, and I will be removing the covers for the broadcasting that I leave up on YouTube, because I don't want to mess with the copyright problems. I'd like to welcome you all. Now to take a minute and just get comfortable. Let things be a little bit slower. Let things be a little bit stiller than the fast pace that we're around. And take a deep, deep breath in. And let it out. Let it all out. Let out the old air. And take another breath. Imagine breathing in light. We talk about the patterns. We talk about things that we can't see with our regular eye. And tonight I ask you to tap into that part of you that was a child, with an imagination, creating, without the fear that magic wasn't real, or that it wasn't possible. Try and feel that part of yourself, the part that's still there, Can you, for one moment, let go the boundaries of logic and just let yourself imagine freely it was never silly. It was never a waste of time. Part of you that plays make-believe or daydreams. It's just as valid as the part of you that takes care of all the other things needed for being a human on this planet. Remember that feeling for this moment and let it take you where it wants. You're still allowed to daydream. You're still allowed to learn new things, to believe in things that may seem illogical or invisible. Because you never know sometimes. Those things are just as real as anything else. So embrace the magic. The magic outside of you and the magic inside of you. When you're ready, open your eyes. May you be blessed.